All right, so I think we're live. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Good evening, chat. Welcome to Shenanigans. You guys probably see a new face on the screen, at least I hope you do. That is Bronwyn. She is the other crew member to Shenanigans. She's been ignoring us for months now. We weren't good enough until the Halloween stuff came up, and then she decided she wants to hop in and join us.
It just works out with kids' schedules. So
Correct.
everything's dying down for a little bit.
So Bronwyn and I know each other because our daughters are connected at the hip. I'm pretty sure they were separated at birth, even though they weren't even at the hospital at the same time, but they're always doing stuff together. And Bronwyn has her, I think you have her actually more than I do. So I share more custody with her. I share more custody of her with you than I do her own dad at this point. So, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So we're happy to have Bronwyn. And of course, we have Carrie. So Carrie and I know each other, Bronwyn, from the true crime stuff. She's the one I keep talking to you guys about. So, and we've got the chat. Hello, everybody in the chat. There's CB, who's going to be a pain in the ass tonight. CB looks like a troll, Bronwyn, when he's in there talking up his stuff, but he's actually pretty cool. The gals with the wrenches, Carrie's one of them, obviously. Bianca and Yip is in there. They're just going to make sure everybody minds their manners in the chat. And then,
run
oh
for
my
justice.
gosh, hello, Rolanda. That's one of my buddies. She's from here in town with me. I am so glad you joined us. That means, probably means that Darren is close by. And Margaret's here. Run for Justice is here. Thank you for modding. Bianca, thank you for modding. Correct, CB. We know you're a hemorrhoid because you irritate the hell out of assholes. We know, sir. But that joke does not get old. Hello, Yep. Thank you for modding tonight. And let's see, who else can I give shout outs to? I saw that somebody tagged Texas Bluebonnets. There you are. I see you. Hello, Texas Bluebonnets. And there's Margaret. Justice. I think, Justice, I don't remember seeing you before. So if this is your first time, welcome and thank you for being here. And I saw Maxine. And I saw, who else did I see? I'm looking. Robin's here.
Patrick?
Oh, is Patrick here?
Yes.
Did I miss him? I went right over him. Hello, there he is. Hello, Patrick. I am so glad you guys are here tonight. Thank you so much. It's going to be a little bit, I would say mellow, but it's not going to be mellow. It's not going to be super exciting, but it's Halloween. This is part 1 of 2. I was talking last week about scheduling a medium, and she was not available tonight, but she is available next week. So we are looking forward to hosting her and hearing about her little skills and talents. And it's not as clean cut as what one might think. But I was really stoked when Bronwyn said she was available tonight because with the Halloween stuff, Bronwyn's got a really cool background to her. She doesn't think it's all that cool, but I told her unless you work it, you think it's really freaking cool. But kind of want to get the conversation going by just kind of talking about Halloween. I saw that I missed you, Patrick. Sorry, but Carrie pointed you out to me. What are you guys? There's not a whole lot of people there was some interaction on the Facebook site, right? There was talks about what we've dressed up as and that stupid Halloween prank where parents hide their kids' candy and then tell them they ate it all to make them cry and get their reaction and send it to that late night host or whatever. So what have you guys, do you guys dress up for Halloween when you get a chance? I guess that's the first question. Either one of you? I don't, but I'm a spoiled
I
sport
like
that.
to.
You do?
Usually, I used to be like when I go out with my kids, I'm not super creative. Like, probably what I'm going to wear Thursday night is the TARDIS from Doctor Who. I just have a dress. So,
yeah.
Because I wouldn't wear it like just out. For my work this year, or my team we all do like a team costume, and we're just going to be a track team. So I get to wear like joggers and stuff to work on Thursday. So that'll be fun. But
oh my goodness.
I mean, yeah, I feel like when I was younger, we did a lot of Halloween parties with our friends and we dressed up. But it's been a while since I've done
that. But you've done some dressing up in the past, maybe when we weren't so adulty and a little more risque, maybe?
I mean, just like most of my costumes have been kid friendly because I've had kids since I was so young. Like I've been like an angel, or I did like me and my ex did olive oil and Popeye one year for like a
Oh,
soccer team party.
That's cute.
hilarious. That's awesome.
Just stuff like that. Pirate, like like a sexy pirate when I lived in Houston, going to the bar with my friends, like that type of stuff, but nothing super
Yes.
crazy.
I did the sexy slash slutty costumes. I think I did a fireman one year. One year with there because the moms I used to hang out with, I had created the first mom group that I created back in my late 20s. We decided to do a theme costume. We because our mommy night, because that's what we called it, right? Was mommy night. And the guy I was seeing at the time, he recoined the night. He renamed it as MILF night. And then so one year we went as the MILFia. So we dressed in like little sexy mobster outfits and mini skirts and the pinstripe suits with the hats and the whole 9 yards. It was rather interesting. People actually, and it was weird. People actually got it. They actually understood what we were trying to pull off. And I think one of the women, she was on protest and went as the what's that? Oh, the Playboy bunny. She was all dressed up as a Playboy bunny, and so it all worked out. But I think the most interesting thing I've done is pretty tame compared to what I saw in the Facebook group. I think the worst thing I've ever done was censored. I just dressed up in black and had the word censored across my body. That's about as risque as I can get. But did you see what the one guy in Facebook group said that he and his team went as?
Is that the fallopian tube swim team?
Oh
Yes,
my
I saw
gosh.
that. That was a good one.
That was a good one. That's funny. I know the guy that talked about that. I see him regularly. It's like, oh my gosh, that is hilarious. Thank you, Bianca, for putting that up there. Yeah, if you guys want to check that one out, there's pictures on the Facebook group of what he's talking. They dressed
Oh boy.
in white. They had their white paint on. And I think on the back, they had like different nicknames and stuff like that. It is hilarious what
That
they
is
did.
cool.
And
My
I think,
mom and I were talking this morning or yesterday about like how far costumes have come. Back in my time, in my day, that was like Cyndi Lauper, Madonna days. We were happy with the damn black trash bag over us with holes cut in it, our hair as high as it could possibly go.
Mhm.
Then we had to wear those nasty plastic masks on our faces. Kids have it good these days.
Oh my gosh, those things
That
were
you couldn't breathe in and you
they were
sweat.
sweaty, they were nasty. I'm pretty sure mold grew on that thing throughout the
For
day.
real.
Oh god, it was so gross. But that was the best they had. They have come a really long way. Trying to think, I think oh yeah, I don't have anything really cool that I did. Anybody in the chat have something cool that they did? Maybe even well, now my brother, I take that my brother did something hugely inappropriate. We didn't know at the time. We were going to school in Mulvane High School. We were there for a short while. He was in 8th grade and I was a freshman. And they had a Halloween costume, Halloween dance for the school. And so I think it was all the schools, like if whatever grade level or whatever. But my brother and I were at the same Halloween dance. And he our aunt had pulled this costume off because she was pregnant at the time and she was like 8 years older than us, but he went as a pregnant nun. With my parents' support, they helped him put the pillow on and strapped it around his little body. I mean, he was tiny at the time. And they had a Halloween costume contest, and he won for being a pregnant nun, which after the fact, there were several townspeople, parents, and others that got really ticked off and went barking at the school about it and made them stripped him of his award and gave it to somebody else. But it was a good one. I mean,
I
it
was
cool
really
enough.
pregnant, like 8 months pregnant, and I couldn't have been 8 months. Obviously, I can't count. Maybe 6 months pregnant. And I went as a pregnant witch, and I was such a bomb costume. My makeup was so cool, and seriously pregnant, huge pregnant, and I won NFL football tickets to a game for it. It's pretty cool.
Wow. Which NFL game?
Yeah.
Which team?
I mean, I don't watch NFL. Who plays with California and Cardinals?
We need to go back and strike
I'm
that
gonna get
because
kicked out of the
you
chat and everything.
you are gonna get in so much trouble for calling them a football team the Cardinals. I'm not gonna even try to
No,
correct that.
they were playing the Arizona Cardinals, but I believe it was who's the LA?
That's the
There's
Chargers now, but
yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it was a long time ago.
Oh
And
my goodness.
the other team
Give
they
it a
brought to LA.
chance.
They have 2 teams in LA, but
I thought they had 2 there, but that's funny. Yeah, that's definitely not the Cardinals in LA. Definitely
No,
not
no.
for that work.
Arizona Cardinals.
Yes. That's hilarious. Yes, in the chat's like a pregnant nun. Yes, a pregnant nun. My little brother, he was 13 at the no, he was just turning 13. He'd have been 12, so this would have been Halloween. So yeah, 12-year-old. He didn't get his, I mean, he's tall today, but he did not get his height until later. This little bitty guy, see-through, skin and bones, walking around as a pregnant nun. Yes, absolutely. Pissed off the entire town of Mulvane, which is about I think 5,000 people. Like it was huge. It was pretty interesting. I think I don't know. Nobody in the chat did anything they want to fess up to? You guys are not going to be that boring tonight, are you?
What is that? Pennywise. So last year, I let
Ooh.
my granddaughter, well, she was only 4 then, let her pick out her own Halloween costume. And she picked out this Pennywise one. So she wore it to school, and all the other kids were scared. They were terrified. So this year for Halloween, everybody got a letter sent home saying no scary costumes. I felt so guilty. I know that's because of me. I ruined it
Well,
for everybody.
you trailblazed. You created something. You created a new
So
path
this
for
year, she's
people.
going to be a cute little cheerleader instead.
Dang it. Could she be like a deadly cheerleader? Like a little bit of
Right?
blood or something?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of fun to do that, right? You have some fun at Halloween and do things you
Totally
wouldn't
fun.
normally
She
do.
wasn't scared
Well, and that's the thing. If
like
she
that.
wasn't scared, it's not her fault. The other kids were, but
You know what my husband's afraid of? Somebody said my daughter's terrified of clowns. My husband is terrified of clowns and midgets.
I don't get
Terrified.
that.
He
Why
can't
does
even watch them on TV.
That's crazy? Because I love
That's
that
silly.
comedian Brad Williams, and he talks about how he comes in contact with people who are scared to death of it. I don't understand. He's just little. Kick him and move
He's so
on. I don't
scared.
get it.
It's
Oh my goodness.
hilarious because he's like this
I'm gonna go
badass
put
guy and he's
TV on for
terrified.
my dog real quick. Hold on.
Okay.
I'll be right.
Yeah, Bronwyn, they do, yeah. But so Bronwyn is pretty quiet anyway. She just kind of goes with the flow, and then once she finds her hook, then she jumps right in. Midget wrestling for him.
Yes.
Yeah,
For his 50th birthday, that's what we could do.
that's
Tara,
awesome.
we could, oh my gosh, yes. We're gonna tell him we're taking him somewhere hot, like badass strip club in Wichita or something. And we'll take him to something
They do
midgets.
have they had I want to say they had a midget fighting midget. They had some sort of show, some sort of fighting thing like that in Wichita not too long. I think it was in Wichita. Where's Anjet? I wish she was here. She could tell me because she had the tickets for it. She was going to take her dad, and then it didn't go through. But I
We
think that
gotta
would
do
be
something like
fun.
that. Oh yeah,
Yes,
it will be
that would be
hilarious.
awesome. Oh my gosh,
He
that
might
must be
not, I
so
might
cool.
be moving in with you afterwards, but we could totally pull this off.
Well, wait till I get moved to the new house, and then that will be
Right?
plenty of room. Then we'll have a studio there too, so we'll be okay. Oh,
Sweet.
oh my goodness. Yes, Cash, we
Cash,
talk
why
a
don't
lot,
you
but that's
come
why
up?
we're here. Yeah,
We need
you come.
Cash needs to come up and tell us all about his costumes.
Mhm.
We want to know.
I was hoping that, with all the
Where's your
posts.
link? Put your link in the chat.
Oh, yes, good idea. That probably
And
does
then,
help with people coming up, doesn't it?
yeah, and then
I'm
pin it.
so brilliant. So I posted here, hit enter, and then I have to come over here to she's back. Okay, and then there it goes. So I just pinned at the top of the chat a link. If you click that link, you can come up on the panel with us, with Bronwyn and Carrie and I. You don't have to put your camera on. It's up to you.
Yeah.
But feel free to come up and join the discussion. And I didn't know. Robert says WWE's coming to town. And yeah, I'd heard that one. They need midgets to do it though. Then it would be way more fun. Or short, little people, dwarfs. I
Yeah.
guess it depends on who you are, but so but yeah, with I was hoping that somebody might come through on the Halloween stuff and talk about why they don't celebrate it, why they think it's bad religiously. And there wasn't too many people that were willing to come forward with that one. I probably need to check the burner number. That might be a different story that way. Somebody's asked me for it already. See. And I just saw the other text from the group. That's not going to go over well. Let me see. Let me check. No, nothing there yet. I don't know, but we can maybe as we start talking about stuff, as I make Bronwyn talk about her background. This makes me this is silly. It makes me so happy because I just think these stories are awesome, but maybe they're not. So Bronwyn, you have to tell people what you used to do before. Well, what do you do today? What do you generally do today? You don't have to mention where you work, but generally speaking.
I'm an accountant at a bank.
She's an
So I've
accountant
been
at a
doing that.
bank.
Yeah. I've been doing accounting for about 13 years.
Which is cool. It's a good job. It's fine. It's not fascinating, but I'm not a numbers person. But what did you used to do?
So before, when I was younger, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and there's like a couple deaths, and so I started talking to the funeral directors, and I was like, well, what do you have to do to be a funeral director? And this got me interested. So I moved to Houston, and I went to school for funeral directing and embalming. So a lot of science. It's like it was a 2-year degree. I think there are some schools that do 4 years, but the one I went to was a 2-year degree. And just yeah, I worked at a funeral home in Houston for 2 years while I was in school. So it's Houston. I mean, obviously, going to school and living there, pretty much anything you would hear, like that I was going to school with was like working on the case in town. I know there was someone that I went to school with, and he had done the Andrea Yates when all that happened.
Oh, wow.
So he did a really
Whoa.
good presentation on grief and like what that was like. And so, I mean, because this was 20 years ago, when I was in school. Oh yeah, about 20 years ago. So yeah, so I just worked at a funeral home in Houston. I did the funeral home I worked at. We didn't do embalmings at the funeral home because we were part of a bigger corporation. So they have like an embalming service. Most cities probably have one, like Houston Embalming Service. So they would pick up the bodies, do the embalming, and then deliver. But we would do like makeup and stuff like that, prep, get them ready for casket prep, and work a lot with the families. But in school, I did a lot of embalming. So because you had to have so many cases to graduate. And in school, we also we did all the county burials, so all the indigent burials for people that couldn't afford in Houston County. We did all of those embalmings as well. So
That's cool.
you'd have lab days. You'd go to school like Monday through Thursday, and then you'd have lab days. Depending on, like Friday would be a lab day.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, what'd you do in lab days?
Embalm. Yeah, we would just embalm and learn about just
Wow.
different techniques. And I've done like working with the indigent burials. I've done a baby, like a stillborn baby. That was a little difficult. We had one case where I don't know if they ever found, but someone had put the child in a trash bag or a suitcase or something in a dumpster.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I think they were at the medical examiner's office for maybe 2 years. They had an open investigation. They never found. They said they thought the child was around 6 years old, but the physical structure was more like a 3-year-old, so obviously severely neglected. Never found. I don't think anyone was ever found responsible. There was a newspaper article. They tried to put out like sketches and stuff, but like we did that burial, so we would get stuff like that. We did a lot of for the medical schools down there. In your medical school, you have a cadaver you work on, so we would do a lot of those, prepping the cadaver bodies for the medical schools in Houston. So just yeah, it was a good experience. I mean, I like the science part of it more than like working at the funeral home, working with people. When for me, that wasn't something I really enjoyed. I did it, but for me, it was like more the science stuff. It's difficult dealing with grieving families, and sometimes they don't even know like what happened. We don't even know what happened. I mean, I remember one of my very first funerals I did. It was like, we thought she had like died in her sleep or something, and then when because I would see the death certificates at some point, I think it was like a suicide with pills, but like we didn't know that at the time. So,
Wow.
but we would have. I mean, my funeral home was obviously a lot of mostly older people, but we would have like gang executions. I worked those where we'd have security because they were worried about retaliation. I did one where it was like 2 cousins, right, pretty much back to back. They were young, they were teenagers, I think, and it was gang related. So we had the family in their pretty close together. I had one time where like a brawl broke out at the funeral, at the viewing, and I was working by myself, and I'm like, I just went to the back room and tapped the button for the security and the police because I was like, I'm not dealing with this. I mean, I had an instructor who literally had someone shot at a funeral. So, like during the service.
Wow.
So,
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
I don't know if they lived or died. I don't know that, but he said someone walked up to it was a family member in the front row and shot him. So it just lots of crazy stories. I had people that I went to school with who worked some of the space shuttle that exploded. Some of that recovery, I worked with people that maybe their husband was a funeral director and they've been working in the funeral home and they're involved with like disaster recovery efforts. Now they're finally getting licensed, so they'd be in school. So just lots of different stories of that type of stuff. So
Oh my goodness. That is, oh my goodness, all the questions. I didn't even know about half that stuff. I know we talked about the one story that just blows my mind when you tell it, but that sounded to be really pretty dangerous given the part of Houston you were working. Was it so how would the individuals come in? Was it because they would get to choose the funeral home and that was
yeah,
just a popular
yes,
one, that
it
kind
would
of thing?
be wherever the family chose.
Oh, wow. Um, so it's how long did you do that kind of work?
About 2.5 years. And then I had to move. So I moved from Texas to California and I was debating at that point working in funeral, but you're on call nights, weekends, and my kids were
Mhm.
small. So I ended up going into finance and then that's kind of kept me. I went to leasing and that kind of led me to the accounting path. So,
Oh, wow.
but I did my licensing, I took the licensing exams and everything. So I graduated. I just didn't really do it much after graduation.
Oh my goodness. So when you would work, did you have, I mean, this sounds like a silly question, but you're working there, you're at night, you've got the client, for lack of a better word, I guess, that you're working on. Did you have anything spooky or creepy happen while you were doing, like, are you already on that heightened sense anyway, and you kind of just made shit up in your head?
I think in the beginning, my first probably day working on my own, I didn't know we had a separate entrance in the back for flower vendors. And I just heard the door open and I'm like, did someone escape? Like, I don't want to go look, but I didn't
What a
really
mistake.
have, that was that was probably the only thing that really happened to me. We had a secretary who she had to work late. She was like terrified. So she would just like take a box of Kleenex and put it like in the casket and like hurry, shut it and run out of the room because she didn't like being there by herself. But
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either.
I never really had anything like that. It was like
Oh my
mostly just a
gosh.
lot of really quiet time or just doing a lot of
I hope
visitation
it's quiet.
and stuff.
God, I
Yeah.
hope it's quiet. So you've probably heard it more so being in the industry, um, where somebody would be brought in, but it would turn out they're not actually passed. They're for whatever cryptic,
Mhm.
crazy tales from the crypt type of thing. Have you heard of that or seen that?
I've had, I think, one instructor who said maybe something like that happened. I recently, though, just read somebody woke up in the middle of their organ donation.
Yes,
That was
I read
crazy.
that
Like
too.
within the past week or two, I think I read an article about that. And
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
that to me would be
Can you even
like,
imagine if that would have
no,
happened to you? Like somebody just like
No.
pops up. Oh my God. I wouldn't
Hey,
be
that
here
hurts.
today.
Do you
Still
mind?
here.
I'm attached to that liver. If you'll just leave it where you found it.
Oh my gosh, that would
How
be
do you wake
horrible.
up from that? Oh my gosh. Like, how do you, I guess I don't have the medical background to understand how, for one, if they're not gone, you don't know they're, like, how do you miss that? That seems like a pretty significant detail. And I'm sure there's a reason, but oh my gosh, how does that happen?
I don't know, and I think this was a story I just read, but I think it happened a while ago because I'm pretty sure it said the person lived like 3 more years after it happened.
Mhm.
And I don't know, it must have just been, I have no clue
Oh
like
my
how
gosh.
that would happen, but it did. They woke up in the middle of the organ retrieval.
Oh my God.
They said, no, no, you're not taking my organs now. not ready.
So the organ retrieval, based on what you know, it had just begun. They had just started the process to access the. Clearly, we still have the viable organs that maintain life force energies. Was
Yeah.
still.
I don't know. I have no clue if I don't know how that even works with
Oh my
somebody
gosh.
coming back like that. But
That I mean, there's got to be all kinds of fear going between the guy who's cutting you open to take your organs and the person that wakes up to say, "Hey, can you leave me alone?" Those are
I'm sure
my.
that's a very rare thing that happens.
Oh my gosh. I'm looking in the chat. I think the question Patrick wanted to know from you is what part of Houston were you in? He grew up in Sunnyside, Martin Luther King Boulevard and Telephone Road, South Houston, 3rd Ward. Does that sound familiar to you at all?
No, I was up in like off of like Highway 6 and 290 and like the Bear Creek kind of Cyfair
Cool.
area. It was like the funeral home was called Brookside, and they were just right there at Highway 6 and 290. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure that's where it's located.
That's where it's at. It's been a bit. Okay, so Ro says organ donations are normally still okay. They're still alive, but the brain is dead.
That makes sense. I mean, they need to
Okay.
be like they'll usually keep you on like if you're on a machine until they can get your organs
Okay.
out. The brain dead part, I don't know how that could be mistaken, but and like I said, it probably doesn't happen very often. But I literally just read this article about it like in the past week or two.
I hope it doesn't happen often. Hawkeye says I was a nun in a coffin in a school Halloween event. God.
That would be cool.
That would be different. That would be cool. Cash says, "Oh yeah, Hawkeye. We were talking about my brother was a pregnant nun one year for Halloween. Went over well for the school, but not for the town." Hey Joseph, how are you? I'm glad you're here. Okay, so one of the reasons I was so happy for Bronwyn to come up, I didn't realize all the disturbing stories, which I still have all the questions and all the curiosities about. But when Bronwyn and I were talking about her background in funeral homes, she was telling me this one particular story that I still laugh because I think it's hilarious. It wasn't fun for her at the time, I'm sure, but you got to share the story about your grandma because that one just blows me away.
So when I was in school, my grandma was doing cancer treatment at MD Anderson. And that's one of the reasons I chose to go to Houston so she could stay with me and I could help her. And she would always ask me like, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to get my body back to Kansas, when I die? And I'm like, I'm going to drive you. And she's like, no, you're not. And I was like, okay. Well, I had moved out to California and she passed away somewhat unexpectedly. I mean, she had cancer, but it wasn't like we weren't at hospice point or anything. She just had an allergic reaction to a clinical trial that they were doing for chemo. And so my funeral home that I had worked at did her service. And since I was like, I had done my licensing, I had worked there, I got a permit to drive her body to Kansas. So at the funeral, I did her hair and makeup for the funeral. That was really probably that was really special because I was able to do that and make her look like herself because I used her makeup from home and, how she normally did everything. And then after we did her service there, I had a minivan and we had driven it from California. Well, I had flown and then my ex had driven it. And it has like the stow and go, so all the seats go down. So on the way back, it was her casket with the flower spray sitting on top. And then I had one seat up in the back, and my uncle, which is her son, was sitting in that. And my mom was in the front with me. And so we were driving up here to get her to the funeral home here because we were going to have a service here as well for all her friends here. And then she's getting buried in Kansas. And there was like a brush fire or something on the side of the road. So we got really delayed. We had to take a huge detour. I'm booking it. I'm in Oklahoma City and I get pulled over for speeding.
So you have to explain, why are you booking it?
To get to the funeral home because we'd already been like delayed so long from this brush fire and it was getting late. And I'm like, okay, I need to drop her off. Like, I don't.
Because there's a temperature concern here.
Yeah. So I get pulled over like right kind of by Frontier City. And the cop's like, he gets out and it's freezing because it's February. And he gets out and he's like, you know, why are you like something like, why are you going so fast? And I'm like, well, I got to get my grandma's body up to Kansas. And he's like, what do you mean her body? And I'm like, it's in the back. And he said, ma'am, I need you to step out of the car. So I had to get
Oh
out of the car
no.
and
No,
go sit with him. And I was like, I have all the paperwork. I have all the like the transit permits, everything. And I'm like sitting in the police SUV, I think it was an SUV or something. And I was like, you could see the casket with the spray like on top through with the headlights in the back. And so he's like, okay. So he's like, well, I'm going to be honest. Like, I've been doing this for a long time and this is the first. I'm not going to give you a ticket, just, get your grandma. But as I was like out there with the cop, my ex-husband drove by with my kids and just waved, kept on going. Like he wasn't going to have any claiming of me at that point. But so yeah, so that was just, so then I was like,
They just
well,
waved at you as they drive by.
little
Yeah.
princess wave. Hi, Mom.
So that was my funny story with my grandma because I would always joke with her, I'm just going to drive you back. And I'm like, she'd probably think it's, crazy and funny that I,
Oh my
got pulled
God.
over. I had to explain to the cop why I had a body in my van.
That's hilarious.
But we got her back here and it was all
But
good.
if you're going to transport a body, now we know the best way to do it is in a coffin, make it look official. So when you tell the cop,
Right?
I'm transporting, I make up the paperwork and just make the cop double check his career choices. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was funny when we were driving, my uncle's like on his phone and he's like talking and he's like, oh, I'm just hanging out with my mom on our road trip.
Shoot.
She's not talking a whole hell of a lot.
That's so something that would happen to me.
I know.
My horrible
Dude,
luck. Oh my gosh.
I will not travel
is
with anything
funny.
remotely partially closely dead in the car with you ever, because I know we're getting pulled over and we're both going to jail for that one, no matter our story. That is how your luck runs.
But
oh
we're
my
bringing the
gosh,
casket. That's great.
that
was really sweet that you got to do our makeup and hair and stuff, though. I don't think I could personally do that, but I think it's really sweet when others do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you didn't have any issues doing that. Like it was just.
I mean, it was sad. I was crying, but it was like I was the right person to do it.
But the end result was worth it for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Cash said road trip. That's right.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. That got quite a few in the chat up, and that got some blood going. I don't know I really wish there was some body cam footage of that police officer. That would be.
I'm sure he went back to his station and was like, "You're not gonna believe what happened to me."
And nobody probably did. They'd probably be like, "You should have called in for backup. Like, we want to see this." Like that would be just. And do you know anybody else that has experienced something remotely close to that?
Like getting pulled over? No. Even like I used to drive bodies to the crematory in like a van, the funeral home, we owned a van. But I never got pulled over at that point. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Do you remember how fast you were going when you got pulled over by chance?
I think I was going like 10 over, maybe 15. It like changes kind of around there. And yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. It's not hilarious, but it is hilarious.
I know. I was thinking I have so many inappropriate jokes going through my head right now. That's horrible.
We keep getting the Weekend at Bernie's comment coming up over and over again. Oh my gosh. So there's, besides, you've got that story, which can be humorous after the fact, clearly. And I'm going to teach Justin, because I know one of the reasons why y'all got divorced, because I know he's the one that drove by in the van with the kids, like, "Hi, honey." Be like, "When I divorce you, that's making the list. You should have stopped and saved my ass," but whatever. Was there anything that happened while you were working that is funny today, but maybe not so much at the time?
Not really. I mean, I guess I just remember there was one old man who wanted to be buried in his underwear and his Walmart vest and nothing else. And we were like telling his wife, like, we just really can't have an open casket if he's only in his Walmart, because he was like a door greeter, like just stuff like that. I mean, just sometimes just the things that people
Walmart vest and underwear. That is
maybe that's how he sat at home. I don't know, but
That was his birthday suit.
Oh
But
my,
no, I mean, I don't know. It just the funeral home was just. I feel like it was. We were in a pretty. I worked at a pretty busy funeral home, so I feel like we always had stuff going on and just
oh my gosh.
business.
Is there one that is, and I don't know how it works in a funeral home. If you take one look at somebody, be like, I'm not working on that. Like, there's no, I can do nothing for this. Find somebody different. You ever run into something like that, or
No, I mean,
or if you had a practical
even
jokester? Because I'd be that jackass that would hide behind the wherever you're prepping them, and I'd be the one that would throw my voice and be like, I'm still here, or like,
no, but
I don't know, I
even
would do something.
yeah, even I'm trying to think like even like we had there was like an execution like that game that one. I mean, I think he was shot in his forehead, but they used like a hat and enough cosmetic stuff to where it didn't look
Okay.
bad. Like they had an open casket. I mean, it's amazing with like the makeup and the modeling clay and stuff because you practice that when you're at school. You have
Modeling clay?
like a skull, like a plastic skull, and you get a partner, and then like your project for that semester is to like do your partners like all their features and everything on the skull. So
So
How
you
do
can
they
yeah,
make them?
you can reconstruct somebody that has damage to the
yeah,
visible
there's like
area?
makeup and like wax and stuff that you can reconstruct and make them look
Wow.
good, like to where you can still have that open casket for somebody. Granted, I mean you can't some things you just can't fix, um, but yeah. So we did like a whole semester of just like working with modeling tools and clay and wax and putting it on that like it's almost kind of reminds me of like if you see like a person who does like the reconstructed sketches and
Yeah.
they take like kind of like that but just with clay
I'll be darned.
wax.
I didn't even think that to be a thing.
I had a lot of
Wow.
interesting classes in school and it's funny because there's a girl on my she's a youth and a junior on our roller derby team and her mom was telling me oh she's decided what she wants not knowing that I did this like oh she's decided what she wants to go to school for she's in high school or what she wants to do and I said what she's like she wants to be a funeral director and I'm like I have all the textbooks like you can borrow all my books because if she's interested in that like she'd love reading the stuff I saved all of them but you do like the
Oh,
history of embalming like starting back to the Egyptians and you learn about like how to do mummification and just kind of all the reasons. And then you
wow.
take religious classes where you're learning about all the different religions and the way that they do their different funerals and their beliefs. And so you study a lot of stuff. You do like chemistry of death. So like the body cells, like you take chemistry classes and so yeah, I mean there's a lot of and then obviously psychology, grief psychology, how to deal
Yeah.
with families, that type of stuff. But merchandising, because you have, you guys sell caskets and flowers and all that type of stuff as well. So it's definitely a well-rounded, you learn a lot of things. And I
Oh,
just always
wow.
thought it was just for me, it was just really
That
interesting in school because it was all stuff that I thought was really neat to learn.
Yeah.
that putty stuff or whatever you were calling it, is that what they use for like when people have really sunken faces, like elderly people that get, at the end and their faces get super sunk in to make them look more full? How do they do that?
That's probably what it is. Yeah. Or they might put maybe like some to cotton or
I
something in
wondered if they
the
didn't stuff
mouth.
something in
Yeah.
the
That
cheeks.
that seems more, and then you could probably add more color and stuff with the makeup or the
Right.
clay if you need to. But that to me, that seems like packing something that would be more.
Interesting. Cool.
That is really interesting. So Cash is making a comment about how he was talking about, yeah, Bronwyn, Tara and Carrie talk all the time. I'm like, once we get her started, she's fine. Just down boy. It'll come to pass. So just so you know, Cash. So it's was it this is gonna sound insensitive and yet everybody's probably dying to know, so to speak. When you moved from Houston to California and you changed careers from the funeral directing, the funeral services to the accounting, was it like well, this is kind of boring. I mean, it's a fun boring and it's a good boring. It's a nice way to kind of chill out, but we were like, oh, I kind of miss some of
I don't know. I feel like at that point in my life, I was just trying to pay for daycare for 2 kids and just
No
have
joke.
my house not be a disaster. 'Cause my older 2 were young. They were like 3 and 4. So
Oh my gosh, that was a while.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I
I don't
don't
know. I
think I
might
had
be.
much time to think about it.
No, yeah. That's because I think I would be a little disappointed that the um. I mean, there's something different in accounting all the time. There's always somebody that tries to do something, so there's those kind of catches and things. But it's quite different when in the funeral service where you don't know what's coming through that door.
Mhm.
Um, Especially if there's going to be a fight at a funeral home. I know fights happen everywhere, but a funeral home is a. I suppose it can happen. I haven't seen it happen, but I suppose it can.
When my son's dad passed away here recently, that was one of the first things the funeral director said to us is like, it's amazing how well you guys are getting along. It's not always this way, especially if you have like two different families trying to come together
Mhm.
and make decisions. I can
Oh,
see where it could get pretty nasty.
Well, even when
yeah,
my grandma passed away, she had written all her stuff that she wanted, but she was more worried about like cost. And so she's
yeah.
like, I don't need a funeral in Kansas. I just want to do the one in Houston. I don't want you guys to spend more money. And there was even like a fight between the siblings because my mom and her brother that live here wanted to do something here.
Mhm.
And so we ended up doing both because but yeah, they had an argument between the 4 of them about like, well, this is what she wanted, but okay, but that's not what we want. I get that, but her reason was finances. It wasn't because like she just didn't want that. I mean, so we ended up doing a service here as well, even though, but there was some arguing over that even within my family. So
Oh, no. That sucks. Um, so with the when you have the funeral home thing, I mean, we just went through that with, my partner's mom, but he had the paperwork that said, "I'm the decision maker, this is on me," and I have the when you don't have the paperwork, does it get pretty hairy at that point?
yeah, I mean, I don't know if we really dealt with that a ton, but I can see how like especially if there's multiple siblings, how it could be like there has to be just one that kind of takes charge and
Right.
if there's nothing like that. I mean I would say pre-need do like if you can do a pre-need funeral and get all your like have everything written down of what you want, what your wishes are, to help alleviate some of that. My grandma had it down to like what songs she wanted played and everything, so we didn't have to think about any of that because she had everything written down that she wanted.
Oh, wow.
Run for justice. And I've already told my hairdresser when I die to please do my hair. I mean, priorities.
I I mean,
Sure.
so the chat's got really active. Do you guys have questions? There's been a lot of statements made. I made my new one today for this. I am Beetlejuice. My gosh. Um, so anything in the chat, if you guys have questions, I mean, I have all the questions, none of which are probably appropriate. Um, what was the most surprising thing when you would be working on a client? What's one thing that you came across? You're like, oh, okay, that's not how that's supposed to be. Like, is Bronwyn a serial killer? This question keeps coming up. Yes, her cover was the funeral home cash. Yes, she was a serial killer, and
And
her cover
cash
was
is
the.
next.
Yes, we have already given her instructions. So just
Yep.
sit tight. We'll be with you shortly. So
I
There's
think
a line.
for me, it was probably just I went into it not really knowing like what I wanted to do. It was just something I was interested in, and I really liked all the science of it.
yeah. So there was anything that when you were working on an individual, was there anything that you came across it that you're just like, that's they didn't teach us that they didn't prepare me for because there's always got to be
Um,
something that they don't like in the classroom it's one thing, but in real life you're like that I don't the book doesn't cover that.
Yeah, one thing I can remember is we had it was a young guy, it was like an African American guy, and he was I think he was like a firefighter, and someone bought a motorcycle and he was just trying it out and got into a wreck and killed and died. And we didn't embalm him, but we were doing like the makeup and whatever, and something we put on his lips turned them white. Like he just had a reaction. Maybe it was the embalming chemicals like reacting to what we used. And so I remember us trying to like figure out how to fix that. We had to use makeup, but it was kind of like one of those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, this is what just happened? And that was at the funeral home because that was us getting the body ready for prep for the casket.
Tara, highlight Rolanda's comment. That's a sense of humor we have.
Someone has to make sure the clients won't wake up during the accurate. Yes, correct. I know you're
Definitely.
still half alive, but while the funeral's taking place, please lay still and just play along. Play dead.
Right.
So I have, oh my gosh, they are all over it. Oh my goodness. Can't have crazy hair or makeup. I need my red or pink lips. Elevate my neck so I don't have a double chin.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Why do they position? I see so many individuals, they're positioned with this. I get hands at the side, but several of them have their hands over their
Chest.
abdomen. I've seen one where it was across the chest and that creepy vampire type. And I was just like, I
Yeah.
don't understand the message you're trying to send here unless there's some fangs underneath those lips. What's
We always did just the hands kind of across the abdomen. So I don't know if there's other reasons why somebody would do that. I have no clue.
Rolanda, you've got all the answers. You might as well just come up here on the panel and start because I need to know why are we doing that with hands. Oh my gosh. Has Bronwyn watched Silence of the Lambs and what are her thoughts on moths?
I've watched it, but it's been a long time since
Oh my
I've watched
God,
that
Cash.
movie. That's probably
Oh my
20
gosh,
years.
Patrick, you guys are funny tonight.
I put a check and a box crank on the side of a casket for people to turn and play the music and have casket pop open.
Shit. So wrong.
What?
Of
God.
course, we would laugh at it because it's so
I
wrong.
cannot compose myself.
That is funny.
Holy crap. But is that such
Yeah.
a bad thing to do though? It's a hard thing to go through as somebody's passing, and you try to make it as you want to make it as doable, I suppose. I don't know if it's easy, but try to lighten the blow a little bit and like that.
Yeah.
What was that? I think I've talked about it before. I don't think I talked about it on here, but there was this reel on one of the socials, and it's an Irish funeral, and everybody's gathered around the graveside. They have lowered the casket into the grave, and everybody's just kind of hanging out. And all of a sudden, everybody's sad and upset and crying. And you hear this, yo,
I've seen that. Yeah.
it's dark in here.
The person they recorded something in advance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Like,
it shocked people at first, and then they're like, okay, this is because it was his personality. It was the way he would handle things, which I'm like, I would totally do something like that. I'm like, y'all forgot the wine. Bring me back the wine and then close the casket. Like, I'm not doing this without the wine. So just things like that. That's not so bad, I don't think. But then I think humor is a great tool for healing. It's good medicine. But oh, I like this. My husband always had his hands in his pocket, so that's what I did. That's cool because that aligns with the personality.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. My stepmom's eyes popped open when my little sister was at the casket during her visitation.
So that's creepy. When you put these caps, they're kind of like plastic, heavy duty contacts, and they have like kind of like little, I don't know, spikes or something in there to help hold the eyelids shut.
Oh,
So I don't know.
wow.
I've never seen that, but I mean,
So you do
yeah,
have to seal them. I've heard like there's been use of glue or different things to make sure the eyes stay sealed and the lips stay sealed.
well, and eyes just naturally just kind of sink in. So that
Okay.
gives them like to keep their shape so they don't look,
Gotcha.
weird. And it just depends, like, depending on your body chemistry, whether, you've been on medications, like you can embalm somebody and they could be looking great for 30 years, or you can embalm somebody and they can be looking bad in a couple of days. You just never know. So
Wow, that's
Oh,
wild.
they said the
I
glue
probably
came
would have
loose
had to
after a
crawl
while.
in the casket too. I would be done for. No.
I'd have
had
to crawl in the casket too.
I'm
had
like,
an
I'm coming too.
Scoot over. I'm coming in there.
I had an instructor who said he was doing like an embalming and didn't know the person was an identical twin, and walked in the hallway and like ran into the twin. And I think it was like at nighttime. It was, he's like, that was a little creepy when that happened. But I
Oh,
mean,
I
just because
bet.
you like, did you get out? No,
Did you get
but
out? Did you ring the bell? Did they come and let you out? Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. Oh, Patrick says, when I die, I want someone to email and text everybody and ask them to reply. I would assume reply all if they can make it next year because I had fun. Oh, this is a good one. Do they have different color contacts, Bronwyn?
well, it's not like a contact. It's more like a plastic, like a hard cap. It's called an eye cap. So it kind of reminds me of like the shape of a contact, but it's a lot thicker.
Oh, wow. Good night, Hawkeyes. I'm glad you were here. Come back and join us again.
Yes. Good night.
Let's see. Going through. Yeah, your sister lost it. I bet she did, juxtaposition. I might be taken back by that one for a second. I'd be like, oh, you're still here. Crap. Y'all are freaky. And yet you keep hanging out with us, Cash.
Right.
If my eyes are open, I want blue, please. God. Ro, is that you or is that Darren? Now I need to know. Oh my goodness. Well, then come up and tell us a story, Rolanda.
Yes.
That is
Do.
hit that link at the top. You don't have to turn your camera on. But I'd love to hear that one about the identical twin. That would be awesome. Let me see what else is in the Bianca. She collects moths. God. Cash is such a clown. He is too
Yes.
funny. Oh. She just started screaming about gave us all a heart attack.
That
If
would be
she
me.
had not had a response, like if I would be worried if somebody did not have a response. It's me, Darren is watching the ball game. Well, then click the link and tell us about the identical twin. I'm watching for you. Oh my goodness. I know for every kind of funny moment there's always the really difficult ones. You've made a couple of comments about that. There were some but so how did you get through those more difficult ones? The ones that
I
I
think for
mean,
me, like it was more just like focusing on the science of it and not so much like the situation. Because I was learning, everything. And when you're in school, you're learning. Every case is different. So it was just more like pushing through and like, okay, what am I going to learn from this, or kind of just like that. Um,
right.
yeah, and I mean, at the funeral home, we had a lot of tough deaths there. I mean, I think we had one spring break. We had like quite a few like young, like teenagers, a child, like some stuff like that. Like I think it was one was like a nut allergy or something.
Mhm.
Those are always sad, but it's just, I mean, when you're kind of around that every day, you figure out a way like to. And I think for me, that was just more like focusing on like taking something out of the situation and
Yeah.
learning from the funeral directors who've been doing it for a long time, like how they would handle it, and just kind of watching that.
And it's really great you can do that oh, I cannot say this word. Compartmentalize. I was going to go for the longer version of it, but it's great that you can compartmentalize because it takes a lot of that, I'm sure, to do that. Um, I thought I saw something up here.
I do have a funny story. It's from when I was in school, but we did a field trip to New Orleans and for like a weekend, and we went to like the cemeteries. We had like the guided tours of like the St. Louis one and another one, and then we went to like a big funeral home out there and a crematorium. So then obviously we all went out, on Bourbon Street at night, and we were in, I don't even know what bar. But somehow before the end of the night, everyone in the bar was going like, morticians in the house and taking shots. Like it was a fun night. My sister was with me. She flew, or I don't know, she flew to Texas and went over there with me or what, but
Oh,
that
I'll be
was a
darned.
fun like experience with all my classmates.
Oh, I bet. So, Ro just joined us.
Can
Hello,
you hear
Ro.
me?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah,
Okay, good.
yes, we can.
All right. Okay, so this is my funeral twin story. My grandfather was an identical twin. And so they were both music directors in churches. And so you never saw them together
Right.
on Sundays because they were all in different churches. They were in different churches, but they were identical twins. And so my grandfather's twin, he had cancer first. And my grandfather, 11 years after that, had cancer. And the twin had recovered because he went through chemo and everything, but my grandfather did not. So they had to have the funeral. Now remember, they're identical twins. So at the funeral, we had my grandfather in the casket up front at the church when all the little old ladies and everybody else is crying because they've known him forever and all this other kind of stuff. And the twin walks in the back door and starts down the aisle.
Oh my
And we had
God.
to call an ambulance. A couple of those ladies passed out.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
no.
This is important information to have, especially
Yeah.
at times like this.
Oh yeah. If you're an identical twin, please make sure everybody knows you're an identical twin.
So did they know he had a twin? Just they didn't know it was
Oh, they
identical?
did? Yeah, but they'd never seen him.
Oh my gosh.
He just said he had a twin, but they never ever saw him because they were both working Sundays. That's the weekend. And normally that's when you would visit somebody. So yeah, nobody ever had ever seen him.
That
So
is
yeah,
hilarious.
it was pretty wild. It got a little wild there. A
How
little
long ago
wild.
was that?
Oh, long time ago. Long time ago. Yeah, very long. So
That's
few
hilarious.
decades.
Few decades. So
Yeah.
was it here in the Wichita area or was it elsewhere?
Oh no. That was in a different state.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it was not in Wichita. So that was pretty good, but it
So
was
moral of the story, if you're a twin, specifically identical, tell people.
yeah,
Make
especially
it
before
known.
you die.
Especially before you die. I'm getting ready to die, folks. So just so y'all know, I have an identical twin. I said I didn't reincarnate. I didn't come back to life. See, I'd be that ornery one. I would tell my identical twin sister, when I'm gone, I need for you to go screw with people. I just need for you to just make people question their sanity. That's how I want to be remembered. Is through
Well,
people
they were
trying to make
practical jokers to start with. So there's a lot of stories about the practical jokes they tried to pull.
I can
So,
imagine.
oh yeah, they were. I always, when I listened to their stories as twins, oh my gosh, I always wanted to be an identical twin, but it was a goal I never could reach. There was only one baby born.
That's a goal I never could reach.
Yeah, I
Now
blamed my mom.
I will now officially, and I've heard once before that nothing's impossible except for slamming a revolving door. And now I know that I have that trumped with trying to become an identical twin is the impossible. That is hilarious. Oh my gosh, that's
Okay, I'm gonna back out so you guys can continue talking.
Thank you, Ro. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
I
Have
have
a-
a question for Brownwin. A lot of times, like in true crime, we'll hear, say family, maybe extended family owns a mortuary, or they've got a friend, parents have a friend that works at one. I already know the answer, but could they like sneak in and cremate somebody in the middle of the night kind of thing? Or is there kind of some, what's the word I'm looking for? Where everything's accounted
Controls
for
or,
kind of
I
thing?
mean, I would assume, depending if it's like a small family-owned funeral home and nobody's gonna notice that it was run in the middle of the night, that probably really could happen. I just don't, yeah, I don't know. Probably doesn't happen that often, but I'm assuming that it could. I mean, funeral homes have crazy stuff that's happened, right? Like the ones that didn't bury the bodies and were like throwing them out back or
Oh
whatever
my
they were
gosh,
doing. And
I've heard of
yes.
that. Mhm.
like that stuff goes on and nobody reports it. So I would assume probably that could happen. But I guess if you had an employee that was coming in and maybe working the crematory during the day, they probably noticed that it's hot if you were using it at night.
Yeah, somebody been there
So,
overnight.
yeah. But if it's just you, like your family, and you're the funeral director, I guess they could go unnoticed probably.
Wow.
What temperatures do those run at?
I don't know what, I can't remember, but I know they're really hot.
Super high.
And when even like if you pull something out of the cremation where they cremate them, the bones are not like, there's still stuff that would be kind of recognizable, and then you grind it down.
Gotcha.
Oh man.
That's good
If
to
you just
know.
dumped it in like, they don't just dump what comes out directly into a bag, because there's
Right.
stuff that doesn't completely,
Yeah.
not
I think
as fine as like when you see ashes, how fine they are.
because that thing can only get so hot
Yeah.
because of what's creating the heat and what's containing it. I know somebody who used to threaten when his daughter started dating. He used to threaten the would-be boyfriends and suitors. You know, if you screw with my daughter, I will burn your body in a pile of tires because it's the only thing that's hot enough to just make your body literally disintegrate into the fire because it just gets so dang hot. But those are usually burned out in the open too. They're not.
And I
Um,
didn't. Well, so my funeral home, we would do our if we had somebody that's cremated, we take them to, like, they might have like an open casket and a visitation, and then they get cremated,
okay.
afterwards. So we did a lot of that, but we took them to the vaccine. I'm not sure because I didn't work at the crematory, but I just know from when we went on the tour in New Orleans, we did it we went to the crematory, and they were kind of talking to us and showing like the stuff that they use in the crematory. So, but all I did was just drive bodies to the crematory and drop them off. That was
Well, and grandma.
my experience with it.
And grandma.
And grandma.
God, that's hilarious. Oh my goodness. So is it common that a funeral home will not have a crematory?
I mean, it just depends. There's a lot of funeral homes that are part of like a big corporations, and they probably won't, unless maybe they were like a family owned before and then they got purchased or something. But I think I would say probably not. Like
Okay.
even where I lived in Houston, there was a separate, like near me, there was a place that just did cremations. That's all they did.
Wow.
And I don't know if they did them for like, it was probably like if you don't want a service, or you don't want to go to the funeral home, we can cremate you. And that's what they did there. They didn't do anything else. But yeah, I don't know. We always did ours. We would take them to the cemetery, and they did them at like one of the big funeral homes at the cemetery. But we were part of a big corporation.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that had a lot
So
of funeral homes.
Dear John, which is a fun name, by the way, I have enough titanium in me to make someone rich. So when you've got body parts like that, bones that have been replaced, joints that have been replaced, what happens with those? Do you have any idea
I have no
after
clue.
after
Yeah, I don't know
crematory?
on that. May have
Oh,
known
wow.
one at some point, but I don't remember. Like I said, my experience with that was just like going to the crematory and doing like a tour, and them telling us about it, because I
Wow.
didn't work at a funeral home that cremated on site. So
Be
Tara,
interesting.
there was a really funny comment earlier. Well, funny, not funny, but funny to me anyway, because the same thing actually happened to me. Mama J said, I got jewelry that holds ashes for my daughters after my husband died. While I was pouring in the ashes, the cat stuck his head in the urn, sniffed, and started sneezing. Ashes blew everywhere.
Let me find that comment. Oh my
I just
gosh.
have to say, I'm so sorry, Grandpa, because the same thing happened, except it wasn't the cat.
Hold on. Let me
I dropped the
wait.
necklace and they all fell out.
Lady, you have the power, do you not, to highlight these comments?
No, you've not given me the power.
Oh, I did too. Did. Oh my, where is this comment at? I need to see this.
You
What's
have to
the
scroll
time?
back up. 825.
Oh, I
well,
just
my
saw it.
funeral home that I worked at, we had a lot of people that just never picked up the ashes. We had a shelf full of
Why?
ashes. I don't know if people just, I don't know, maybe that's what the person wanted, but they really don't know what to do with them, or they don't want to have them. Because we had a shelf full of remains that just never got picked up.
After they already paid?
Yeah, just of the cremated remains.
wow.
Because I mean, it's about 5 pounds a box. I mean, so we just had a shelf that had quite a few remains that just the families never came
Wow.
and got them.
I
Because
don't
some people
trust
are like,
that.
well,
I can't
I don't
imagine.
know, like some people don't want to have ashes. They don't want it. And but I mean, I know you can bury them. Like we buried my great grandma in California. She wanted to be cremated, and she's buried out there in Hollywood Hills at the cemetery there, just her
Oh,
urn.
wow.
So
Someone still Patrick was selling him for scrap. Oh,
Gosh.
mercy me.
Oh, the chat is alive tonight, which is ironic given the conversation.
My mom
Uh,
has my grandpa's ashes, and they're bless grandpa's heart. He's really been through it, man, because like he fell out of my necklace. My mom has kept him in a closet forever.
oh my
It's really
goodness.
not very cool.
Maybe maybe cremation wasn't for him.
Maybe
Well,
maybe
nowadays
that wasn't the right idea. She
you can
cremated
make
my
jewelry.
grandma.
Yeah,
She
you
had
can
my
you can press somebody into a diamond or some sort of gemstone, can
Mhm.
you not?
well,
Yeah.
that's what I want to be. A diamond
I'm just
in the
saying, I
rough.
mean, in the rough.
And
In
I
the
think
rough.
there's also places like there you can become like part of a reef or something, like a reef, like a coral reef, and maybe like off Australia or somewhere like that. I've seen some
Wow.
stuff like that where I don't know how like
Huh.
all the details of it, but I've seen.
My
I think
mom
the
had
diamond
my
thing.
my mom had my grandmother cremated, and she buried her under like a rose bush or something. My grandmother hated flowers, first of all. And second, that was in Arizona like 25 years ago, and nobody's ever been back. Grandma's still under somebody's bush.
Oh my god. Okay, this is hilarious. Hilarious, not hilarious, but it's perfect. Maxine says, my daughter wouldn't let me dispose of my late husband's ashes, so he's still in my closet. To which Cash responds, Maxine, is he happy in there?
Well, he hasn't complained much.
I mean, he's still there, isn't he? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
still
for
there and he's not
sure.
complaining.
For sure. See, then this is one of those things, narcissist hunter, people don't want to talk about because they're like, they don't want to laugh at these things, but there is humor to be had. It helps the conversation, it helps people feel better. And so we will be doing this. Just wait until we get to next weekend or next Tuesday, because that will really be interesting. But
Yeah, that'll be fun.
oh my goodness. It's a juxtaposition. My son said he's going to put me in a coffee can and take me wherever he goes.
A coffee can.
I'll be putting a wine bottle. Watch. When I cash in my chips, my ashes will be mixed with my husband's, and then we will be buried together. Aw,
That's really sweet.
that is. So, what do you? I mean, Bronwyn, given the work you've done and your understanding, do you have a preference as to funeral home and being buried to being cremated?
I don't want to be cremated. I want to be buried.
Yeah,
That's just what I want. There's no reason for it. Just
just the way it goes.
yeah.
Okay. What about you, Carrie?
I'm not so sure I'm cool with being under the ground. I don't know.
That's why my granny got cremated because she didn't like the idea of being buried. So that's why she wanted to be cremated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd like that idea either.
I don't like the idea of being in the ground. At some point in time, it is a
Here,
small
John,
world
no
after
one's
all.
going to look down on me.
That's awesome. I don't know. I don't like the idea of being buried either. I'd like to have a funeral service and the whole bit, but I don't want it to be a sad funeral. I need people to be drinking, getting drunk, and being stupid. That way, they don't look back and be tearful and upset. 'Cause there's no point to that. Would want to be cremated though, and then whoever wanted a piece of me in real life can have a piece of me in death. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care what you do with me. I'm just like, and though somebody had made the comment, well, what about a headstone so people can visit? I'm like, I will make a headstone for anybody who wants one. It'll be a little travel size. You can take it wherever you go, and if you want to put it in your backyard and put flowers on my grave, then outstanding. I'll walk all over you.
Read
Well, so-
Bianca's comment, Tara.
Oh, let me scroll back up. Oh my goodness. My dad
Everybody
passed
funny.
and we bought a double plot. So who was next with him? His mother, my nana, passed a year later and she's lying on top of him now. I'm sure he's not so pleased.
Oh no.
Oh my God, that is awesome. See, I get the humor. I don't know if I want my mother to be buried on top of me. I see some twisted humor to that, quite honestly. Maybe the dude I've been
Well-
dating can be buried on top of me. That would be appropriate, but I don't know about a parent.
That's funny.
So my mom, when my stepdad passed away, she got a double plot, and she already has her headstone. It's got her picture on it. I think it has her name and just not her end date. And it's got like their picture together. Well, now she's remarried, and the guy she remarried was like I knew him when I was younger because him and my stepdad grew up together since they were like 5. They were best friends. But then they had like lost touch, and he came to my grandma's funeral, and then him and my mom started talking, and this was 4 or 5 years after my stepfather passed away. So now they're all going to be buried there together. So it's like my stepdad, my mom, and then my first stepdad, my mom, and I think my other stepdad's going to be buried next to my first stepdad or something like that. But they were best friends growing up. So,
Oh,
but she
wow.
still got her, because I know a lot of people will do that. Like they get their headstone if they have a spouse pass away with this, then they get remarried. My uncle's the same way. I asked him because he's remarried, and his first wife, they have 2 daughters they adopted together. They were married for like just shy of 10 years.
Oh, wow.
He's remarried now, and I was like, well, you and Vicky, you could be married like 40 years. And he's like, yeah, but we got Vicky a plot like catty corner from me. So and she's okay with it because she's like, that's your girl's mom. You guys,
Yeah.
she passed away of cancer, but I mean, just so what you were saying to her about not having a place where you're like a headstone. So my
Yeah.
best friend from high school died in a car accident when we were 19. She was like supposed to be coming up to my apartment, never showed. I got a call. It was her sister. It was a car accident. And they cremated her. I have always thought, like, I wish there was somewhere I could go. So for years, the only place I had to go, and I swear I would still go, but I never go to Winfield, is the corner where her car accident happened. Because
Yeah.
there's nothing else, because somebody has her ashes, but they didn't, do any type of memorial
Well,
anywhere to visit.
and that's kind of the thing with the ashes. Quite honestly, Bo, and we refer to my guy as Bo online because he's that IT guy. But Bo and the kids would get my ashes, and then again, I'd make some sort of headstone for them to have wherever they move to. Because that's the one thing that I see that really upsets people is they move away and they can't go back to visit. And I don't want to have that hanging on
Yeah.
somebody's head. And knowing my kids, yeah, they would want the ashes. They'll want somewhere to go. So that's kind of that's my compromise on that one. Although I think Robin just gave me a brilliant idea. She'll just have a stone made out of a wine bottle for me, keep it there to visit. So I apparently need to send my sister some of my ashes so she could put them in a wine bottle. But that might be how I do it. I'll just store myself in a wine bottle, and the kids can just carry that wine bottle with them wherever they go. That would be awesome. Oh my gosh, the chat is hilarious. I don't even know where to snort this. Oh my god. Do you know, Shannon, there's got to be somebody out there who has done that, and now I'm going to look for that story. I'm sure there's somebody out there who has done it. I'm going to go find that story. I'm also, for next week when we start going into because we'll have a medium on the show next week, and I'm going to I saw going through Facebook and kind of doing some light research for the show today, and I saw some headstones. One that was really interesting from the backside, it shows just a pair of eyes, like the cartoon eyes that says, you don't really see anything. It just says the eyes. And then with it, it says, we're out here hiding from dumb people.
I
And when
saw
you,
that this week because I'm on like all these cemetery enthusiasts
yes.
or whatever, and people post pictures of all different
Mhm.
headstones. That one was funny. It said their kids on the back, and then it said, "Yeah, we're out here hiding."
Yes, you're out here hiding from dumb
That's
people.
funny.
And then you
And
flip
they're
around the
still
other
alive.
side. Yes, they're still alive. You flip around to the other, and
Yeah.
it's a giant headstone. You flip around the other
Yeah.
side, and it was the comments are gold because you flip around the other side and you see that it has his name and her name and their birth dates. And then you see that etching of the two of them, and they're happy, and it shows a date there. And somebody's like,
Sister.
I don't get it. Whose date is the one underneath of both of them? And somebody's like, you idiots, the date they got married. Like, check the timeline. Like, it was the
Well,
comments on
that
those.
one's funny also because it has their pets on the front and their kids' names on the back.
Yes.
It has like etchings of their cat and their dog, and then on the back it lists their kids' names.
I'm gonna find that one, and Carrie's gonna show me how to do screen share on here or do something where we can show that it is the funniest damn thing on those sites. But yeah, I'm a part of all those sites, the creepy cemeteries, the crazy stuff like that, the post-mortem stuff, because some of that stuff is very interesting to see. And some of the things that people will share, they have a space to share that for that therapeutic type of thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
those groups are amazing because that somebody can put like, this was my friend, they passed it around this time, and somebody will find a headstone, or they just see a
Yes.
headstone that they're interested, and like, I wonder what happened, and somebody can usually find an article.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are
Yes.
really interesting to read.
Now what, Carrie?
You
did you
have
see?
me going. I'm on Google Googling
No,
funny headstones.
No, go. I will invite you to these
Oh my-
cemetery groups that I know Bronwyn and I are part of, and I think I've invited you or you've invited me because I know we're a part of a couple of the same ones. But there's some good ones out, and then there's some ones you're just like, what the hell were they thinking? Like, what are they doing? But these two definitely planned ahead
There's
and
some
tried to make it better.
funny ones. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's some, and then I need to find. There was an obituary for this guy. I think he was in Oklahoma. I don't know him, but it came up on one of those sites, and it was written hilariously. You knew he wrote his own obituary to take the load off of somebody else, and I'm gonna find that so we can go through that one because it is too stinking funny. It's it almost makes him sound annoying, but at the same time, it's hilariously annoying. I'll have to find and share that next time. But yeah, there's some of those are just outstanding. And then some are sad. Some are just like young boy just gone. And it was like 100 years ago. I'm like, that's it? That's all they get? What do you see?
Who, me?
Yes, you.
Oh, too many funny ones.
It's
That's good. We'll have to share a bunch of those next week for sure.
Yes. Snorting ashes rock star ask Jeeves. Oh my gosh. Oh. Rolanda, Patrick is a serial killer too, like John and Bronwyn. Cash. Oh, my husband says he can just cremate me in the burn barrel. Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. I'm trying to keep up with all the. Oh, good Lord. Don't accidentally get coffee in the dark and accidentally put someone's ashes instead of sugar in it. I did that. One of my exes put her mom's ashes next to sugar. What? Patrick. Pixar, it did not happen. Oh my gosh. I don't even have
Words.
I mean, I do, but none of them are okay to say out loud.
I'd
Oh
probably
my-
be at the hospital after it's on my stomach. They'd be like, why?
Why? Oh my gosh. That oh my god. How did you what first off, okay, first question. What the hell are the ashes doing next to the sugar in the kitchen? Isn't and just to start with, why are they out there in the open and not covered up securely? Aren't they supposed to deliver ashes in a like sealed container? But no, you
Yeah,
people already
well,
talked
it
about
comes in a box and like it just comes in a plastic
A
bag,
baggie.
in
Yeah.
a bag in like a cardboard box, and then you
just like
do
my dogs
whatever,
do.
you put it in
So when I've
there.
cremated my dogs, it comes in the same
Mhm.
damn
Yeah.
package. Oh my, that would be so weird to pick a loved one up in a baggie. Like I can just bring my own Ziploc bag at that rate to save on some cash. Is that how that happens? That's oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So how did the family has to put them in the urn, or they take it back to the funeral home, and they like how?
I would assume, I don't know what we did. I don't never really paid attention, but the funeral home probably would do the urn if it's in. But I mean, most of the time we just had ours in the box with the bag.
Yeah, most people buy their own urns.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And a lot of times you're not going to buy the urn from the funeral home. I mean, especially now
Yeah.
because.
Oh my gosh, Cash.
Because they're so expensive.
Right.
Well, yeah, even when my grandma died, I told my funeral home I worked at, I'm like, no offense, but we're going to a casket store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got her casket at a casket store. I mean, Costco sells caskets. It's a lot cheaper.
Holy
I
crow.
didn't know that.
Oh, but now I want a Costco card.
That's
for
good
different
good
use.
information for everybody to know though. You do not have to go with the funeral homes.
No, you don't.
$10,000 casket.
Oh, that would be good. Yeah. Oh my gosh. She was changing containers and had them in a baggie. Oh my. I am dumbfounded.
I mean, if you didn't like the
Patrick.
person, I guess. How's that coffee
Oh,
this morning?
That's just why I drink my coffee black. This is why. I never really knew up until just right now. This is why I take my coffee black. Tupperware is cheap. Gosh. And the funeral director placed the bag in the urn we selected. Okay, so that helps to know. Oh my goodness. Do cremated bodies have to be embalmed?
No, but if you want any type of visitation, like for people
Yeah.
to come see you, you would have to do an embalming. But you could, if you just want to be cremated, they can take you and just cremate you.
Oh wow. All righty. We have learned a lot tonight, and we've had a lot of inappropriate laughs, but it's all the shenanigans tonight.
What we do.
Oh my
It's what we
gosh,
do
it's been
best.
hilarious. Awesome. Patrick. That was Cash. Okay, it was Cash. I'm gonna leave now because I know it's not a true story. Is that how the kids started eating the two thought they were God. Oh, I don't know who was in charge of Cash tonight, but you failed.
Yeah, Yep left him all on his own.
Yeah, she did. Not that I blame her. He's a lot to well, he keeps the chat going too, but
Mhm. Yeah, he's
oh
fun.
my goodness. Well, we've been at this for almost 90 minutes, and I know the group actually texted me after we started, and I need to get back to the group to let them know we went ahead without them. Can I just stay alive, or Bromwell, do we need to choose a cremation or burial? Cash is going to live forever. But I thank you guys all for being here. I'm so glad we finally got to
Yes.
introduce you guys to Bronwyn. She is a lot of fun. She's always really good about conversations and adding to. So I'm glad she was here tonight. I wish Kathy and Katie and Amber were here tonight, but that did not work out. We'll get there. And until then, we'll just keep rotating the girls out. Next week, we are going to have a gal named Terry on. She is a medium. I've talked to her about her gifts, and so I thought that'd be an interesting conversation. It's not quite what Hollywood says it is. And then I know that my sister / cousin, she's in the chat, Robin. She and I have talked to a medium before, and we've watched mediums before. I think Robin, remind me, I think his name is Matt Frazier. We were actually on his show once. She and I've been on the show, and I've been on it with somebody else, and I got called on. So I can share that experience. And it wasn't even for me. I bought the ticket for a friend, and we got called on. But we're going to talk about that and see what everybody thinks of mediums, what experience they have. What would they ever talk to one? Would you guys ever talk to a medium, a psychic, clairvoyant? There's all kinds of clairs. It's clairvoyant, clair. Oh my gosh, I'll have to go back and look. There's like 3 or 4 different types of clair somethings, but get into that a little bit next week. So give you something to think about. But that's kind of where we're going to take the Halloween part 2. We'll kind of
Everybody go get a reading this week and come back and tell us what they said.
Yes, and there's actually Facebook groups out there that do them for free. If you're not aware, I'm a part of a couple of them because it's interesting to watch the responses to somebody who says, "This is so and so. They passed such and such. Please, give me a reading if you feel anything." And it's very interesting to see the comments. Yeah, I can't prove if these people know one another or not. But the comments are oftentimes in alignment. It's really interesting, and sometimes they're way out there. So if you haven't seen those, go join a couple of those and just look at them, just read them. You don't have to ask for anything. But yeah, we're going to kind of go into that to wind down the Halloween fun. And this, because I think Halloween and All Hallows Eve all roam around the spirits. I think that'd be a fun little to do for next week. Bronwyn, are you free or do you have adulting responsibilities?
I think I should be able to make it.
Sweet. We might get the whole group together. There's 6 of us total. So maybe we get all of us together. But if not, we'll just keep going with whoever shows up. And thank you, chat. You guys were hilarious tonight. Oh my gosh.
Fun.
I was curious as to how the chat responds, and they are awesome. And I appreciate everybody minds their manners. And we know that Cash is kind of jerky, and he says jerky things, but we appreciate Cash because of that. So thank you guys so much. And we will talk with you guys next week. You guys have a good
Okay.
night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.